Welcome into KC Sports Tonight, Thursday, April 10th, a.k.a. 2 weeks away from the NFL Draft. Marleah Campbell here with Neal Jones.
Sports Director Marleah Campbell.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I forgot that intro.
With serfdom, like she's the general and I'm like the private
Neal,
in this
I don't
organization.
know the last time we've done this show together, but it's been a while.
Okay, the reason I bring it up is, can you go back to that slide, the one that's up there right there, the left slide?
Oh, yeah, here.
Now that's cadaver Neal.
Driving an airplane.
I've complained to everybody else, and they're all like, "We can't do anything about
boy.
it." You look great.
Thank
Joe
you.
looks not Joe.
Mark.
Mark looks great. He looks great, and I look like a cadaver.
Well.
I've talked to Chris Rohach, our graphics guy, who I know is mad at me over something, and that's why he made me have cadaver Neal. But you're the sports director.
I think you look great in that picture. For
Sports
the record.
director, you need to change that. And the other thing is, would it be okay if I went on the road with the Royals?
I'm on board.
I'm not a huge fan of Cleveland, but
Okay.
it's not bad. There's some good restaurants around the ballpark, and they stay downtown.
Okay.
But then New York, you got New York, and the Yankees are terrible, and the fans are terrible.
When's the last time you were in New York? Was it Elite 8 2023?
Yeah, maybe. We may have flown through there, but I don't remember it. So that might have been it. And I had a good experience. And then Detroit's not great, but downtown is Greek town, is right by the ballpark. There's like 6 great Greek restaurants, all reasonably priced, and you only have about a 50-50 chance of being robbed and killed. So it's not a bad deal. I mean, you could go down there and have fun. Why don't you send me? I mean, you have the power now to do that.
Give a good sales pitch. Yeah, we'll see. Royals, as you mentioned, about to head on the road for a 10-game road swing. Neal, you and I were at the K today working on a couple different things. But let's talk about the game itself. Royals come up with a big win, 5-2 at home over the course of this homestand. They beat the Twins 3-1. We have 149 games still left to go, but how big are these wins in the AL Central, even if it is this early in the season?
Well, they presumably are a good ball club. The Twins were expected to be pretty good. The division looks like it's really tight.
Yeah.
The only team that seems real explosive offensively, and I have not watched them play, but from a distance, a little bit seems like the Detroit Tigers. It looks like they can put some runs up. The Royals take 3 out of 4 games against the Twins. I think did they have 7 runs, 8 runs in the entire series?
Yeah, it was not electric offensively.
What does that tell you about how they, with men in scoring position, they find a way to get them home? They play good defense. Another great play today with a play at the plate where they cut down on runs, and that proved to be massive as it turned out. And they get great pitching, both starting pitching. Their starting pitching, I think, is number 2 in the entire league in ERA so far. So they are doing what they did last year, which I did not think was possible because you had so many guys who had career years and also got way up there in the number of innings they threw. Marleah, usually when a guy throws a bunch of innings and has career years, the next year he has a tendency to break down. Well, we're early in the year, so that could still happen. So far the guys are being very effective. And then the back end of the bullpen with Ursig, who we had a chance to talk with today, as a setup guy, they can bring him in anytime they have a high leverage situation. If that's in the 5th inning or 6th inning, the manager can bring him in then. But he's the guy they can bring out of the pen to calm things down. And then a guy at the very, very back of the bullpen, a big, massive man who can throw with power and throw strikes. He's got multiple pitches he can command. They look like a team that's really for real.
It's cool. We were talking you mentioned Ursig in the clubhouse, and I was asking him about this road stretch ahead. You know, they're in the midst of 17 games in 17 days. They're headed on the road for 10 straight games against 3 very good teams. And I was kind of asking him about like how you manage that workload-wise, body-wise, mentally-wise, and he kept saying, look, we're trying to get to the World Series. Like, our eyes are on October. Our eyes are on the World Series. And I just thought that was cool because you don't often hear, I don't think, players talking about the postseason this early in the season. But they're really locked in for the long term, which is cool. Neal, how impressive have you been by Bobby Witt Jr.? 2 games in this series, starting Tuesday night, when I think he and Vinny hit for a combined like 50 feet to end up winning that game in the I think it was the 7th or the 8th. And then today, coming up with a big sac fly for the go-ahead run. How impressed have you been with him in general? I know he doesn't have the flashy home run numbers early, but how big he's been in, those clutch situations.
Well, we see with guys who hit home runs, when they don't hit home runs, there's a lot of, they can't beat you any other way. I mean, a lot of home run hitters, there have been differences. I mean, there have been some guys who are real athletic who can hit home runs. but I don't think of him as a home run hitter. I think about him as a young Mickey Mantle, one of the fastest guys in the majors.
I thought you were going to say Mickey Mouse first.
who has power,
Yeah.
right? But Mickey Mantle, I hated the Yankees, and I was too young to really appreciate Mickey Mantle when he was any good, and I would have rooted against him anyway. But you see video of him, and you talk to baseball people, and he was the fastest guy in the league when he came up, but he could hit for power from both sides of the plate, but he could also chop it down. He didn't strike out a ton. He could also put the ball in play. And that's Bobby Witt Jr. Bobby Witt Jr. is a great baseball player. And when he wasn't hitting particularly well, or if he did hit the ball sharply, it was right at a fielder, he still beat people because he just outran the ball. That error last night, it was a number back to the mound in a tied game, and a veteran pitcher gets it. And he overthrew he got rushed. He was trying to take his time and be easy, and then realize, oh my gosh, he's going to beat it. So he throws it, and he throws it over the first baseman's head. It's something you see, and you yell at the kids when they're 13, much less 30 years old or 25 years old in the majors. But it was his speed that put the pressure on him. We saw it in the postseason last year. The American League MVP, help me here, the center fielder for the Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge. He was unbelievable. A decent center fielder with a good arm. He was a gamer. He played hurt, did all the right things. But Marleah, when he got in a slump and people against good pitching, the Royals were able to shut him down. The Dodgers able to shut him down. He wasn't able to really impact games because he only could do one thing, and that's hit home runs, right? Mm-hmm. And guess what? Bobby Witt Jr. can beat you 3 or 4 ways.
Yeah.
Give me that kind of a superstar, and they can keep the other guy in the Bronx.
Yep, I love it. All right, let's move on to our next topic of the day. Anything else you want to touch on with Royals?
Well, we didn't really get to the bottom of me going on the road. I mean,
true.
that would have been good.
Moving right along, okay, to college football. A little bit of news today, Neal, in the sense of Mizzou football moving their season opener against Central Arkansas from the Saturday, August 30th, 2 days earlier, to Thursday, the 28th.
Everybody knew that's what they wanted.
Yeah.
That's what they've been doing. It works.
3 years in a row now?
People love it. I've covered those other games. I've always been out there for their first game of the year. It would be 11 o'clock kick. It would be in August. So at 11 a.m. in August on an AstroTurf football stadium, it is 100 degrees. And if it's not 100 degrees, the temperature down there felt like 100 degrees. And my son was in the band for a couple of years. They're up there dying wearing T-shirts, and they sweat through everything. The crowd, the people have tickets, but they don't show up because, man, we're at the lake. Do we really want to go back, have to drive back up to Columbia? You do it on Thursday, and it's an excuse to get off work Thursday early. The game's at 6:30. You can get off of work early in St. Louis or Kansas City or anywhere around, drive over there, kick off your Labor Day weekend, and then go to the lake or whatever it is you're doing on Labor Day. It's a great idea. So why didn't the SEC schedule it that way?
Yeah.
But Mizzou does the right thing. They move it. It's a lot more fun. The crowd last year, I was really disappointed. There was a lot, they're coming off that great Cotton Bowl season from 2 seasons ago. We're there about an hour before the game doing live shots. Jared Kohler was running around trying to meet the Golden Girls, and unfortunately, the only thing he came close to was a cutout of a Golden Girl, which I have a picture if anyone wants to dispute that. So the whole point is, it's just that there's excitement. Everybody's in a good mood. It's fun. The Mizzou fan, but the crowd wasn't very good, and I'm like, this is terrible. This is embarrassing. Marleah, in 15 minutes, that place went from 25,000 people in the stands to 60,000 or 58,000, whatever it was. Everybody showed up. They showed up late, but they showed up. It was a great atmosphere. The Tigers played a decent team. It was an exciting game. I'm so thrilled they did this, and I think it's a great way to kick off. And we all know what happens for Missouri this year. They play Kansas. They host KU in week, I think, 3, something like that.
Yeah.
So it's really exciting. KU will have, I think, 1 game advantage on them.
2. It's week 2, September 6th, the Saturday.
So it's going to be really exciting.
Man,
I can't.
That's gonna be fun.
And I if I'm not fired, I'll be over there. I think it's going to be a blast.
You're
the sports director about that too.
Well, to get you out to Columbia on September 6th, we'll keep you around. Let's talk about Kansas a little bit, because the Jayhawks last year, a lot of hype around, they were a top 25 team. They were coming off a really good season and went downhill really, really quickly. They start 1-5 or something with that win?
Yeah, but who lost those games?
Well,
Come on.
Yeah.
We know who lost those games.
Yeah, but you look at this season, the big green flag for me is they're not at Arrowhead and they're not at Children's Mercy Park anymore because, Neal, I don't know how much you thought that had an impact on this team, but having played in college, having 0 home games, which is what you could call that because they have to get on the bus and drive an hour plus every single day, every single game day, and, probably stay in a hotel, I imagine. And
I think they stay in hotels anyway the night before games.
The football players at Wyoming did that. But still, you're not in your home arena.
How did you know that?
Well, they did a little march from pregame from the hotel.
They would go from the dorm to the one hotel in whatever town, Laramie.
I think we had 3.
You had 3 hotels in Laramie.
Yeah.
You had the 8 days in.
And then it was a 45-minute drive up the road to the next town. So it was crazy on football game days. But we're getting off track. They're back at...
And I guarantee people will remember this part of it more than they'll remember whatever it is we say about KU football.
The logistics of Wyoming football mornings. Anyway, Kansas back in Lawrence this year. How big of a factor do you think that plays to this team having a good season? And we'll broaden it out to maybe a little bit more of the on-the-field action and how you're feeling about the Jayhawks.
Well, the stadium is going up right in front of the players. When I was over there a couple of weekends ago, on a Saturday, the guys, you asked them about that, and even a guy who transferred in from Bowling Green, one of their linebackers, he said, one of the reasons I came here was that stadium tells you a lot about what they think about football. It tells you that they're involved in football. But everybody I talked to talked about the fact that you walk by it. Every day when you walk up the hill from the practice, they have brand new offices and everything that they built, and they walk up from that, the team rooms and everything. They walk up the hill right past the Campanile, and there it is, this massive stadium. It is much more impressive than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a spiffed up version of what they had. It is not.
Yeah.
It is gorgeous. It is, and when they get the other side finished, the west side will be, or the east side will be finished. They're going to tear down those stands and move them forward. When that happens, it'll really be something. But it's impressive now. It's big. It's way tall.
Yeah.
It's really nice, and I can't wait. I can't wait to see it. They are going to be very excited about just the stadium. I mean, the fact that it's new. Yes, and that is going to give them a boost. To answer your question, I thought, and I've talked to people over there who said that playing at Children's Mercy Park was not bad. It was really loud. They didn't win there, not because of where they were playing. They didn't win there because their quarterback didn't play well. He didn't play well at all the first 5 or 6 games. And when your quarterback is your best player or one of your best players.
In the Heisman conversation 2 years ago.
A great leader, a guy everybody looked up to. He looked rusty. Remember, he got hurt the year before.
He was rusty. Yeah, he's been injured most of his career.
And I don't know how much he's doing with spring practice. And when I was over there, they said, well, he had some knee work done. He had his knee scoped, I guess. And so he's doing stuff, but we're really trying to protect him. I hope he comes out and he's not rusty. Because by the end of the year, remember they went on that stretch where they won, I think, 4 or 5. 4 out of 5 games, I think.
Yep.
He was a different player. He was a lot more effective. I watched them at Arrowhead Stadium, and they got beat by TCU. TCU was just so physically gifted on the offensive side of the football. They had the benefit of maybe a no call on a block in the back on an 89-yard punt return for TCU, which really switched the game. But then you saw the quarterback for KU making plays. And I'm like, this is what I think this is what I was expecting about.
Yeah.
He missed some guys, some open receivers, but he also made some great plays. And then they went on their win streak after that, and I thought he was really, really good. Hopefully we get that quarterback the entire year. I'm sick of people criticizing him. When he's healthy, he's effective.
Yeah.
When he's not healthy, he hadn't been able to play very much. But, that's the way it is when you have back problems and some of the issues he's faced. I think Kansas is going to be an exciting team. I don't know if they have the receivers that they've had in the past. I think they've recruited really well. They've got more depth at certain positions. They really missed their offensive coordinator last year, who went off to coach at Penn State.
Yep.
That guy was one of the best offensive coordinators in football. And I thought he was maybe the best guy in the Big 12. That's how good he was. Everybody that coached against him said, this guy's unbelievable. He's one step ahead of all of us. And so losing him hurt KU. Lance Leipold and he were so close. I was so disappointed that happened for them. But I think KU's going to be good. I think Missouri's going to be really good. The question there is an unproven quarterback. They have a transfer quarterback. So it'll be interesting to see how he does. If he plays well, you got to believe that Mizzou's got the horses. They've recruited well elsewhere in their team. They're going to be good. So week 2, if I'm not fired, that's going to be half a game. That's going to be heck.
Another name you didn't mention, Devin Neal in the NFL draft. That's going to be a big loss for them this season. Daniel Highshaw has proven to put up really good numbers. He went down with a hip injury 2 years ago, but last year he and Neal were kind of that 1-2 punch. So it'll be interesting to see with presumably Highshaw sliding into that number 1 spot who steps into the 2.
You miss Tate Nagy.
Yeah.
Matt Nagy's son, Tate, the quarterback who ran around at Blue Valley West and just terrorized people. He was the quickest kid on the field when I covered him. There was nobody quicker than him.
I thought he kicked or punted too.
And he returns kicks.
Yeah.
And the coach mentioned him, and if you watch Channel 5 this weekend, you'll see the story. Lance Leipold brought him up. I was going to bring him up, and Lance Leipold went there on his own. He said, hey, another guy that's really every practice, he does something either in the kick return game or in the receiver game, is Tate Nagy. He's not big enough or strong enough yet, but he's like a water bug. You can't stop him. So I think he's going to be an exciting player to watch over there. I think they're going to find a way to use him.
By the way, we're talking about Kansas this season. 1-5 through the first 6 games last season. They ended the year 4-2 with wins over 17th ranked Iowa State, 6th ranked BYU, and 16th ranked Colorado, and lost to 16th ranked K-State by 2. So that was a very different team in the second half.
They get stonewalled at Baylor. Baylor at the end of the year was a great football team, and Baylor beat them pretty good down there in Waco. Without that, if they win that game, they would have gone to a bowl. I think that would have benefited this program a lot to get more bowl practices for the young guys. So that was a tough one. The one school we haven't mentioned is Kansas State, and I think they're going to be really good. But I'll tell you what, their coaches talked openly about the fact that they're going to have to cut guys this spring because they got like 125 guys out and they can only have 105. They had all those walk-ons, and he's going to have to tell them, most of them, you can't stay. You can go to school here, but you can't play football. He's very unhappy about it. A lot of other coaches are really unhappy about it. So that's going to be a can you imagine, Marleah? You played Division I college football or basketball. Okay, so you were there as a recruited scholarship player, so it wouldn't have affected you. But if you had somebody who walked on at Idaho or Wyoming, I guess you played at Wyoming. I'm sorry, okay. They all blend into me. So they're all like Canada. But but could you imagine if you were a walk-on and you had been there for 3 or 4 years and you'd kind of worked your way into the rotation a little bit, and your mom and dad went to school there, you grew up rooting for them, and now they tell you you can't be a walk-on, you can't even pay your own way?
No, I cannot imagine that. At Wyoming there were a bunch of regular walk-ons and then preferred walk-ons, and college athletics at any level is no joke. Nonetheless, paying your way to do it. So that's a disappointing reason. Neal, I know you did that story about K-State recruiting where it was coaches talking about how disappointed they were in this rule change and the trickle-down effects it'll have.
It's absolutely affected. I know this. It affected 2 families in our station who had children who were being recruited, and then suddenly were being told, not so fast. And it affected every level of college football. It just filtered down. I wonder if when the Power 5 or Power 4 leagues take over football from the NCAA, if they don't reinstate that and basically say, you can walk on, you don't get any NIL money, but you can walk on. And maybe that's a way to get around it, because I can't imagine. Walk-ons have been around for as long as there have been college sports, and it's stupid that they don't have it now.
Okay, we could really get down in the wormhole with that, but we're going to move on to soccer this weekend. Actually, do you want to do that or jump ahead to NFL draft? You pick.
Let's talk about soccer, because that's another road trip I would not be against making.
To San Diego this weekend?
Yeah, to San Diego to see.
I'll take that one, actually.
I could go live like on the morning show, because that's about the time, time change.
Yep.
Yeah. But it's an exciting one. Both of them are exciting. Kansas City, I believe, is once again going to challenge to be the best team in the entire NWSL. So it's always fun to watch them play. And then Sporting has got this side thing going with Kerry Zavagnin, their interim coach, who's been around for like 25 or something years as a player and assistant coach there. It'll be fun to see how he does.
Yeah, Zavagnin 1-0 in his interim term, Sporting getting the big win over rival St. Louis last week. The Kansas City Current coming back from their international break. They're 3-0, playing 1-1 San Diego. So I'm excited about the Current. They're really building like consistent success there. You know, a couple years ago they had a rough year, but they've just been kind of building expectations of this is a winning program year after year, certainly by Vlatko's leadership. So still early on, but a lot of fun to watch that team. And a lot of players still coming back from international break. Neal, I was listening to the press conference earlier this week, and some of the players are actually going to meet the Current in San Diego ahead of that game. So kind of a hectic couple of days here. Yeah,
and those are your best players. Generally, your best players are the ones who are picked by their nation's international team to represent them, so it can be tough. Well, I'll tell you what, when you have a great coach like the Current do, I think it's a huge leg up because he knows how to use people. He knows how to put them in the position to succeed. He knows how to counter the other team's strengths. They are a special group because I think they got really good players and they got a great coach.
Final topic of the day. We are exactly 2 weeks out from the NFL draft. Neal, the Chiefs have addressed a number of needs over the course of the last couple weeks, I guess, of free agency, but where do you feel this team playing out? They got a first-round pick, second round, I want to say 3-4 and 3-7 round picks. I think they're at 8 right now. But early priorities, what are you looking for this team, given the context of what we've seen these last couple weeks with deals being signed?
Well, the best thing that they've been able to do is they've been able to sign enough players to play games now.
Yeah.
They have enough to have a 53-man roster and go play football games, which means they are not in desperation mode. We've got to take a left tackle, even if he's not a very good left tackle. We got to go there, or we got to get this. We need a pass rusher, even if he's mediocre. No, they can afford to stick to their board and take the best available player. And trying to guess what they think the best available player is, shading it for need, is impossible. There's no way I thought Clyde Edwards-Helaire would be their pick at number 32, the last pick or 31st pick. I think it was the last pick.
Yeah.
In 2020, the 2020, maybe it was 2020 or 2021. I guess it was 20. I don't remember. It was the COVID draft.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
I'm at home watching that going,
gosh.
There's no way. I don't see that.
Yeah.
And yet he was very, very instrumental as a rookie before he got hurt. He played a big role in that team, and the Chiefs were the best team in football until they lost their tackles and he got hurt, and then they got beat by the Buccaneers down in Tampa Bay for the Super Bowl. But so it's hard to pick. They look at guys and they look for things that we don't know, and they judge things like he can do something that we don't have anybody on the team that can do. Let's take him. So trying to predict what they're going to do is impossible. Even when they really had the number 1 overall pick in the entire draft, there wasn't a slam dunk guy at that time in 2013. So it'll be interesting to see what they take, but I'm sure that Andy Reid and his coaches will find a way to use whoever they get. They'll end up finding a way to use them.
Yeah, I think you nailed it with it'll be best pick available. Especially with the signings of, Hollywood Brown over the course, just the news that we kept getting rolled in, it was like, okay, we're checking off boxes of what are you going to do there? Because the free agency list or the Chiefs players bound for free agency after the Super Bowl, it was like, oh goodness, how are you going to put this picture together? But again, they've managed to do it. So should be a lot of fun. I'm also excited for the later rounds because we've seen a number of players on this roster drafted in the 5th, 6th, 7th rounds that have been immediate impact players for this team. A guy like Isaiah Pacheco, for example. So that's coming up 2 weeks from today. Big soccer weekend. We have the Current on Saturday on the road. Neal, Sporting KC on Sunday against Portland. You will be there. And the Royals kicking off.
Yeah, that's a short trip.
Yeah.
That's not the same as going to San Diego or New York City.
New York City. Yeah.
I mean, I could take a Greyhound bus or up to
KCK.
Children's Mercy Park. Yeah, I can get there from that.
There you go.
Then the Masters. Masters is going on today. Tom Watson was one of the guys who at the ceremonial drives down there. Tonight at 10 o'clock, you're going to hear from Tom Watson explaining why if you could play in this, and he can play as a past champion, he has the right. He's got the invitation to play in the tournament. He was making the cut when he was a player, but he's chosen not to. I had a chance to ask him why that is, why anybody would walk away from a chance to play that golf course. And everywhere he goes down there, he's beloved. They give him standing ovations on every tee and every green. Golf fans appreciate the older players in a way that the younger generation doesn't always at every other thing. But so we'll hear from him tonight at 10, unless, of course, they cut my time.
All right. Masters all weekend long here on KCTV5. Same time, same place tomorrow for KC Sports Tonight. For Neal Jones and myself, thanks so much for watching. See you back here tomorrow.